We've made it to September, the National Recovery Month, 2021. This is David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, coming at you to tell you a little piece of my mind. And today we are going to talk about recovery in America. Before I get into that, make sure that you subscribe, because you never know what's going to come out of my mouth, and it might be something that's interesting that makes you think about this system a little bit more. Before I get into this, I want you to think about somebody in your life that you know that might have overdosed over the last year, last 2 years, but during the pandemic. I remember when all of our focus used to be on the epidemic of opiates. No matter what, we always had something. It was the top of conversation. Everybody had something to say. And then what happened? The pandemic. When the pandemic came in, the epidemic started to get less and less talked about. But if you really were in the streets and you really understood what was going on a ground level, addiction was going on rampant. People were starting to drink alcohol, and a lot of people started using more drugs because they were isolated. And once they were isolated, next thing you know, people just started dying. They were dying alone in houses all by themselves, didn't have anywhere to go, didn't have places to call. Everybody was stuck in their own houses, in their own apartments, and nobody came to rescue. Some of these people were found dead days after they had died. But now, look at us now. We're focused on masks and who's wearing masks and who's not wearing masks. We're even thinking about things that don't even have anything to do with medical issues because it's became a political issue in our world today. What I'm talking about is not about this epidemic or this pandemic in general. I'm going to talk to you about these broken systems that are around, and if they were broken before, they're definitely broken during this pandemic. Now you might ask, which systems are we talking about that are broken? Normally, it's any system that holds anybody accountable that has a drug addiction, a criminal behavior problem, or even mental health issues. This brokenness has been all around us. There's gaps everywhere. There's barriers that we can't even get over. And to be honest with you, some of this has just gotten just plain ignorant. People are just spending money. All the government people, they're just throwing money at this problem called an epidemic. Throwing millions and billions of dollars at this, just thinking that they can just throw it all in the pot and people will end up getting better. But it just never happens because the money never gets to the real trenches, the real problem that people are having. I don't know about you, but I've seen the same problems over and over, and I've seen the same solutions, and they keep coming back because the people who are figuring out what's going on and how to fix it are never at the ground level, and a lot of them don't ever want to be at the ground level. Most people that have been making all these decisions about what to do for epidemic in 2020 and 2021 have never even really come out of their houses. They make these decisions based on what's going on, but they're so surrounded by the pandemic that they forgot about the epidemic. All I know is during this pandemic, those numbers have been increasing more and more. Every time you go by a billboard that's counting the numbers of deaths due to overdose is getting higher and higher every day. It just never stops. Why do you think it never stops? You know why? Because nobody really cares. They're broke, don't have a lot of money, still struggling to get high. The people that are selling drugs, they're even broken. They're not even giving the real drugs out. People are going to rehab and they're saying they have an addiction to fentanyl or heroin, and they get in and all there is meth and there's benzos in their system. This problem is really, really big, but a lot of people just act like it's not even happening because we're so worried about masks and we're worried about vaccines. And some of these people, whether they die today or die tomorrow, the vaccines aren't the thing that's going to save them. We need to figure out how to unbreak these systems. It feels like we keep doing the same thing over and over. It's like we're living in a world of insanity, trying to do the same things over and over and getting the same result. Whenever you sit back and you notice that these things aren't working and these systems are broken, you start to ask questions. And what happens when you start to ask questions? People think that you're a rebel. But you know what? I'm going to ask that question. I don't really care if people think I am a rebel, but I'm going to tell you what I am. I'm one of those people who talks to those people and learn about their life and their family and the things that hurt them and the reason why they got into addiction in the first place. Every time they flip one of those numbers over, there's probably a therapist or somebody that's been in their life trying to help them fix this problem. But you know what? When you're a rebel, they always think that you're trying to do something that you're really not. And really and truly, whenever you see what's really going on, it starts to make you upset and it starts to make you angry and you start to fight. Especially when you came out of that same world, been in jail, been on probation, did all of that stuff. The question is you see that it was a broken system in the 2000s. You saw it was broken in the 90s and it was broken from the very beginning. But if you ask questions, you never really get the answers that you ask. In Recovery Month, what are we doing? Are we just continuing to do the same things that we normally are doing? Or are we really asking people to move out of the way because a lot of these people are just barriers to a problem? During Recovery Month, I would love to see more rebels out there that are willing to push it to the very limit for these people that are dying. Every one of those numbers got a story, and I want each one of us to become that pioneer or that person that puts those numbers and those stories out in the community and try to really fix these problems. Whether it's the judicial system or social services or just welfare in general, anything that has public housing, anything that we can talk about that holds people accountable, it sometimes seems to be a broken system. And yeah, there are good people that are in those positions, but sometimes there's not. People are always just trying to look to retire, get the next promotion, or do whatever it is that furthers their own career. But when you ask someone to change or to really think about what their decisions are and really tell them, man, think about what's going on. This young lady is trying her best, but yet she does accidentally get high every once in a while. Do we continue to throw them in jail because they making the bad decision or unhealthy decision? What did you think was going to happen? How did you think they were going to get there? They were broken from the get-go. So when you take broken people and you put them in a broken system, all that happens is the person that is broken becomes even more broke. The system doesn't change because everybody gets so comfortable with the system being broken that we become to a point of acceptance. If we're going to talk about what the real problem is, the real problem is this epidemic. And yes, I said it, epidemic. This epidemic needs a special name so that we can really tackle it. You know why we need to really remember this month? Is we need to remember that there are people, good people, who died to this epidemic. But nobody ever really talks about what's really going on. Two, there's not enough people out here really on the ground level. So what happens? Everybody becomes overworked. Everybody gets tired. Yeah, you want to put your best foot forward and you want to give it your best fight, but sometimes you just kind of let things go. Why do we want to continue just to be reactive? Because that's where we are in America, because we just have reacted to the epidemic. Why can't we move to a place of being proactive? And that's what the problem is people stop studying. Yeah, they go to trainings and we go get the CEUs so that we can get our next license so we can continue to make money. But how many people are really out there looking at how can we do it? How can we do this differently? How can we do it with a kind heart? And how can we do it where we make it personal centered? There are some good people out here, and I work with a lot of them in the community. And there's probably tons of them all across the United States. But the problem is there are very few. And when you do meet them, especially the clients will tell you who those people are. Because you know what? They go out their way. They look people in the eyes and they really ask them, what's wrong? How can I help you? As a community, we need to step up and we need to do more. If you think that we are doing enough, then that means you aren't close enough to the problem. Because when you really are in the problem and you see how hard it is to get yourself up or how to make yourself a better person, everybody just sits back and says they ought to do more. They should have known better. This is not recovery, people. Recovery, when we're helping people in recovery, we meet them where they're at. But we really meet them where they're at. We don't judge them. We don't keep complaining because they got problems and they do behaviors that get you upset. I'm tired of doing the traditional type of therapies. That's why I switched it to criminogenics. I wanted to do a therapy that's innovative and try something different. All my websites and YouTubes and everything else, yeah, I have fun, but I'm spreading a new way to look. I'm pleased to be at the university so I could teach the young people to try something different. Recovery Month is not just about going to hang balloons up and turning the lights on purple. It has nothing to do with that. If we're really going to do something about this epidemic, these addiction issues with substances, we got to start doing what we said we're going to do. And it's time to make some changes. This is not about changing your Facebook to purple. This is not about painting your walls so that people know that you're part of this. I want you to go out and start doing something. Find the things that are broken and go fix them. Look at these people who are dying, that are close to dying, and look them in the eye and tell them that you're doing everything in your ability to change this problem. But I'm going to tell you what, some of the people that I'm talking to are probably listening to this. Or they probably won't even listen because they think that I'm just outside of the box. But the problem is, I don't care what they think because I know that this is a broken system. People are so just worried about grants and they're so worried about just things that don't really matter when it comes to people dying. Go to their funeral. Go look their family in the eye whenever they go into the ground. If you're about this problem, you'll go and you'll look them square in the face and you'll say, I tried my best. It's about being a ride or die in this industry. There's too many flaky people, too many people that are just about their money, or just about their own status in the recovery community. Who cares about that? Be you and go and try to fix this problem. That's what this month should be about. And I'm going to be about it. It's David Brooks, the Cadillac Counselor, but I'm just telling you a little piece of my mind. Stop just being part of the problem. Take it easy. Bye.